off center. Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. I've been avoiding making a video on novel coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, because I'm not a doctor and I don't want to participate in the spread of misinformation, fear, and hysteria and fucking mass panic. But as I kind of see this growing and growing and growing, I wanted to make a video talking a little bit about it and discussing a little bit what people are really afraid of. So throughout this video, I'm going to use the term COVID-19. People really shouldn't use the sort of catch-all phrase coronavirus, because the novel strain of coronavirus that's going around right now, they're trying to encourage people to call it COVID-19. Coronavirus is actually a catch-all phrase. Coronavirus is, for lack of a better term, sort of like a class of illnesses that affect your lower respiratory system. This includes the common cold, this includes influenza, this includes SARS. All of those things are coronaviruses. So this particular strain, COVID-19, is in that same family. I feel like a lot of people are, well, number one, I want you guys that watch this video to please leave a comment letting me know why you are afraid of COVID-19. Why are you personally afraid of COVID-19? I feel like a lot of people are afraid of COVID-19 because they feel like if they get it, they're gonna die. I feel like people have watched Contagion a few too many times. Now, I love Contagion. Contagion is one of my favorite movies. I remember when it came out in the movie theater. I went and saw it by myself at Whitestone in the Bronx. And dude sitting next to me in the theater had the nerve to motherfucking cough. I looked at that nigga like, no, you didn't cough in here. So I totally understand the sort of evolutionary, maybe almost like an evolutionary instinct of fear when someone is displaying sickness, coughing, sneezing, all these things. But I want to know, like, why are you afraid? If you are afraid of COVID-19 because you think you're going to get it and it's going to kill you, the vast majority of the people that have died from COVID-19 have been the elderly, so people over the age of 65, along with the people that are already in poor health. So people that already maybe have weakened or compromised immune systems, people that have autoimmune diseases already, people that have respiratory issues already, people that have just other types of illnesses that they're not really up to par. They're not healthy enough to fight it off. And this also goes for the elderly, because generally the elderly and the infirm also fall in that category. So there's a lot of numbers and statistics that have been thrown around. The number that's been thrown around by the World Health Organization has said that the blanket number right now is 3.4% of people that have gotten COVID-19 have died from it. However, you guys know that I talk a lot about not just like blindly taking a number and running with it, but being able to understand the context of the statistics. I'm going to be including some extremely helpful, links in the description box that I would love for you guys to check out if you feel afraid. I feel like the number one thing that we should do to combat fear and terror is to do research. I don't know, maybe that sounds weird, but when you're afraid of something, 9 times out of 10 it's because you feel unsure about it. You're not sure what's going on. So if all you know is that like hundreds of thousands of people around the world are catching COVID-19 and, you know, I believe it's over 3,000 people globally at this point in time have died from it. And, you know, the WHO, the World Health Organization, says it has a fatality of like 3.4%. Those are really scary numbers without the proper context and without the proper understanding of what those numbers really mean. The vast majority of that 3.4% of people that have died are people that are over the age of 65, or people that were already unwell for various reasons, autoimmune issues, respiratory issues, you know. Just like when you have a cold and your cold goes on for too long and your cold can turn into pneumonia and the pneumonia can then kill you, you know, that type of thing. So I'm going to say that for everybody that's terrified that they're going to get COVID-19 and die, if you are not over the age of 65, and if you are not already suffering from some type of health issues or immune system issues, roughly your chance of catching COVID-19 and dying is 1 in 500, okay? I looked at a really helpful chart that broke down by age bracket. This will most likely be the very first link in the description box under the links tab. I looked at a really helpful graph that sort of broke it down. If you are in the 10 to 39 range, ages 10 to 39 range, which I'm hoping that pretty much everybody watching this channel is, then you basically have a 0.2% chance of getting COVID-19 and dying from it, okay? So I'm gonna break it down exactly the way that it was broken down in the chart. If there are 500 people in a room, 17 of those people are gonna get COVID-19. Out of those 17 people, 1 person may die. So that's 1 in 500. You have a 1 in 500 chance of dying if you are in the age range of 10 to 39. I hope that helps some people feel a little bit better. But let's talk about the possibility of you just getting it, even if you don't die from it. If you are living in a high-risk area, so that might be Seattle, that might be Italy, that might be China, obviously Wuhan, where it was the epicenter. If you're living in a high-risk area, you have a higher chance of contracting it, of course. However, 80% of individuals that contract COVID-19 are going to have mild to moderate symptoms, which are the equivalent of the regular influenza, because as I've already said, COVID-19 is a part of the coronavirus family that also includes the common cold and regular influenza. The 3 main hallmarks of COVID-19 are very similar to the flu. That is a fever, a cough, and shortness of breath. Some of you guys know that last winter I caught the flu and it kicked my motherfucking ass. I had a horrible fever. I was sweating. I was so tired. I've never been that exhausted in my life ever. And I felt like I was dying, like no bullshit. I felt like I was dying. And I'm also gonna let you guys know that annually, during cold and flu season, between 10 and 20,000 people die every year from the cold and the regular flu during cold and flu season. 10 to 20,000 people every single cold and flu season die. So I do have to say that I find it very interesting to see sort of mass hysteria and panic over 3,000 people that have died from COVID-19. Not saying that that's a small number, an insignificant number, and you know, my heart goes out to all those people that have lost someone. But you know, several, you know, tens of thousands more people die every year from regular cold and flu season, and yet people don't wash their hands, people don't use hand sanitizer, people don't cover their mouth when they cough, people don't want to get a flu shot. I know a lot of, you know, I feel like I've talked before during live streams about like anti-vaxxers. It's like people don't seem to realize that what they're going to end up coming up with to work on COVID-19 is going to be a vaccine, similar to the vaccine that they were working on for SARS, as well as the fact that we have a flu vaccine. It's going to be the same thing. Yet, when you tell people to go get a vaccine, go get vaccinated, motherfuckers act like they don't want to go get vaccinated because like they don't trust the vaccines. This is going to be the way they fight COVID-19. So it's just very interesting to me to see a lot of what feels to me like mass hysteria. That's all hype, because the preventative measures that are put in place for other illnesses that are a part of this same family of illnesses, this coronavirus family, people don't take advantage of them. And now that we have this sort of new novel strain going throughout the globe, people are terrified. They're in a state of panic to the point where they're like buying up all the supplies, they're hoarding resources, they're price gouging, they want to be quarantined. You want to be quarantined, but you won't like wash your hands and use hand sanitizer and cover your mouth when you cough and get the vaccine. I feel like that's weird. And I've seen people saying like, well, they just keep telling us to wash our hands and use hand sanitizer and cover our mouths. It can't be that simple. Hygiene is that simple. Washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, covering your mouth when you cough. If you guys want to take the extra step of buying an N95 respirator mask, so that you can at least like have your own coughs and stuff self-contained. COVID-19 is not airborne, so it's not like it's gonna, protect you from anything airborne. But washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, covering your mouth, going into the doctor, even if you don't have like a regular physician, going into CVS Minute Clinic, if you feel, hey, I have a cough, I feel short of breath, I feel like I have a fever, can you listen to my lungs, can you check me out? All these things go a long way towards stopping the spread of any infectious disease, and especially one like this, a member of the coronavirus family, like the common cold and like the influenza. And I also find it really interesting because, like, again, this is why people kind of go so hard on anti-vaxxers. This is literally the reason why. It's because when you don't get vaccinated and you lower the herd immunity, that makes it harder for the people that are most at risk, the elderly, children, people that are already sick, people that have chronic illnesses, people that have chronic autoimmune deficiencies, immune issues. This is like a prime example of like what happens when like those people get an illness that's like very widespread. They can die, okay? So I know there's going to be some people that answer the question of like, why are you scared with, I live with an elderly grandparent or parent, or, I work with the elderly, or, I work with people that their autoimmune systems are compromised. I don't want to get it because if I get it and I spread it around to them. I know there's going to be stuff like that. People that are like, I work with at-risk people, and so, or I'm around at-risk people, so I don't want to get it. But like, also just remember, 80% of people that get COVID-19 are going to have the same symptoms as a cold or the flu. And the way that they treat it when they have you in quarantine is exactly the same as the cold and the flu. Bed rest, lots of fluids, get you some Vicks Vapor Rub, take you some Theraflu, because it works exactly the same in your lower respiratory system, because this is a part of the same class of illnesses, this coronavirus class of illnesses. So it works exactly the same. So most people are going to bounce back from it exactly the same. I feel like there's also a lot of people that are just afraid of getting it, like just for the sake of getting it. Like they're just scared to get it, period. So it's like, but you're not afraid to get the flu. You're not afraid to catch a cold. Even though every single cold and flu season, between 10 and 20,000 people die. So it's just very interesting to me to see this sort of mass hysteria, and again, the resource hoarding and the price gouging, and people wanting to quarantine themselves, and they want to shut down the schools, and they want to shut down this, and they want to shut down that. When like the majority of the population is not going to die from this. The majority of the population is probably not even going to be seriously sick. So I want to know, why are you afraid? And these are just facts. These are facts. I don't want to hear about, I read this article that estimated this or estimated that, or they typed some numbers into, a computer, and the computer gave them this statistical number of how it's going to spread. Even so much of what I feel is the fear mongering is like this panic around like, it's going to spread, it's going to spread, it's going to spread, it's going to spread. It is going to spread. It's already spreading. It's spreading globally. So, okay, what happens next now that it's spread globally? Okay, well, now we know that the people that are most at risk from dying from it are the elderly and the people that are already unwell. And the majority of the people that get it are going to have mild to moderate cold and flu symptoms that can be easily treated. So what are you scared of? Tell me. I want to know. What are you afraid of? I'm going to include reputable links and sources in the description box. I'm also going to recommend that for people that feel a lot of fear and anxiety about this, you should really curb your media consumption. Maybe only read what's published by the CDC. Maybe only read what's published by the World Health Organization. Everything else is pretty much guesstimates and estimates, and this could happen, that could happen, this could happen, that could happen. Anything that fucking starts with an estimate of like, this could happen, it also could not happen. So, wash your hands. Use hand sanitizer. Don't touch your face. As Kate Winslet said in Contagion, stop touching your face. If you do feel really concerned about being out in public, especially if you ride public transit or things like that, buy some rubber gloves. The kind that you can get like, I don't know, 100 in a fucking pack. silicone or something like that with the powder inside, thin, so you don't have to touch anything with your bare hands. If you want to invest in an N95 mask, just be aware of the fact that there is a shortage of masks. People are hoarding masks in their homes, people that are not even at risk. They don't work with anybody that's at risk. They don't have anybody at risk in their home, yet they're paranoid, so they're hoarding masks to the point where the people that are at risk, they have an elderly person in their home, they have a sick person in their home, they work with the elderly, they work with people with chronic illnesses, they can't get any. So be aware of what you're doing. Be aware of what you're doing. Have some context, think critically, understand that if you are a healthy, able-bodied person between the ages of fucking 10 and 65, you're probably not gonna die, even if you catch it. Also, I want to say that this coronavirus class of illnesses tends to be seasonal, tends to be cold weather. So it is also very possible that it could die out when the weather warms up. That's actually what happened with SARS. While they were working on a SARS vaccine, the weather warmed up and SARS died out. So they never had to complete the vaccine. And then the following cold weather season, it didn't come back. So it's also very possible that once the weather warms up, COVID-19 might die out. I also read that it's most likely going to be at least a year before a vaccine is even ready. I don't know if you guys really plan on living in this state of panic and hysteria for the next year, but if you do, I'm gonna need y'all niggas to chill the fuck out, right? If you're healthy, try to stay healthy, drink lots of fluids, make sure you're resting, make sure you're being proactive, you're taking vitamins to boost your immune system, you're taking vitamin C, you're taking D1, you're taking fish oil, right? You're eating right, you're getting enough rest, you're washing your hands, you're drinking tea, you know, whatever you need, you're drinking ginger to keep yourself boosted up to fight against it. I know it sounds simple. It's like people don't want to believe that that's how simple it is. You know, I see people like, well, Italy. Just so you guys know, the reason why they quarantine Italy is because 21% of their population is 65 or older. The majority, like, Italy has a lot of old motherfuckers. Like, they have a lot of elderly people that live there. So 21% of their population is at risk. That's a substantial amount. That's why they've had so many deaths, right? I also read that tons of those people that died, they were motherfucking already on death's door, okay? Like, they were old, they were already sick. The COVID kind of kicked them over the edge. But a lot of those people were, again, these are people that are already at risk for something else. This is why, for example, I don't know how many people know this, but they call pneumonia, they call it like the friend of the elderly in death or something like that. Because like most old people are already dying from something else and then they catch pneumonia and then pneumonia kills them basically. So it's not that COVID-19 is like so fatal that it's just knocking motherfuckers out. Like that's not what's happening. Be mindful of what you consume. Do your best to stay healthy. Keep your immune system up. But also understand that if you do get it, it's a very high chance that it's not going to kill you unless you are an elderly person or you already have a compromised immune system or you are unwell in some way. Chill out with the resource hoarding. Chill out with the price gouging. Also, let this serve as an example of what happens when we don't have a vaccine for something and there's not a herd immunity and a ton of people get it. The people that are most at risk, it can be fatal to them. Please let me know in the comments why you're afraid of this, if you're afraid of it. Please, 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 please check the resources and links that I'm going to put in the description box. They will all be reputable. And when you're afraid and when you feel unsure, again, the number one best thing to do is to clear-headedly and calmly look for reputable sources. So again, this is the CDC, this is the World Health Organization, which still, again, make sure you have context for the numbers that they're putting out there. Don't just be reading motherfucking CNBC freaking yourself the fuck out. All right? Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.